Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. It's a privilege to be in your midst. Like Mr. Victor rightly said, my name is Joseph Agunbiade, and I'm very excited to be in your midst this afternoon. My name is I've been in this space, like you mentioned, civic tech, for about 10 years. BudgIT was we started BudgIT in March of 2011, officially in September of that year. And this September will be 10. We'll be celebrating our 10th anniversary. We're inviting you up front. Apart from that, I run a software agency called Get Mobile Technologies, where we've built a series of products. We've built for federal government agencies, state agencies. We've built and worked for HMOs. We worked across multiple verticals. And these days, what I work largely on is around product advisory for startups, and also run a school called University. So I'm super excited to be talking about this interesting topic called building customer-centric product. So I'll be sharing my screen right now, and then we'll dive deep into the conversation. So if at any point in time you have a question, just drop it in the comment section. And when we start taking questions, I'll be able to address most of the questions. So I'll go straight into my presentation. So I've been asked to talk about building customer-centric products. Thank you once again, Eco Innovation, for this opportunity to speak on your platform. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I'm not going to take it for granted at all. So I'll start with this quote. Businesses that treat their customers as king. Sorry, I'm trying to find a clear screen for myself. Businesses that treat their customers as king, as the most prized asset. Businesses that treat their customers as king, the most prized asset in the enterprise, have reported higher returns than their counterparts who put little to the value of the customer. There is no known business that can do without customers. This is a quote, it's an anonymous quote. I hope we can find the person who created that. So I'll start out with this question: that who can tell me which is most important, a good product or a happy customer? You can drop it in the comment section. Which is most important, a good product or a happy customer? Okay, say a happy customer. All right, do we all agree with that? Happy customer. Okay, obviously we all have a fair idea of where we are going to this afternoon. So I'm super excited to be talking to such a great audience. So what is the norm today? What we have today is most organizations develop products based on what they think or have seen that customers need. And this is natural. It happens to the best of us. You walk on the street and you see people and you say, oh, these people actually have a need. Let me go and sell them this thing. You go to a community and you see that they are not wearing shoes. Naturally, coming from Lagos or from Nigeria, you think that, oh, we wear shoe in our country, and it's very good. If you wear shoe, your leg is going to last longer. You won't get caught. You won't get hot when the weather is hot and all that. So naturally, we see people's need and we quickly, propose solution to their problem. And there's nothing wrong in actually, trying to create product for someone that we think that is in need. There's no actually, in the real sense of it. Another thing that we also do today is that we spend lots of money on advertising, saying we have great products. Take a look at us. We just say, man, this is the next best thing after Agege bread. If you are not buying this thing, you are not living the best of your life. And that's what we do literally when we advertise. And it happens also to the best of us. Something I find myself doing, sometimes. And we wonder why we're spending so much advertising money and nothing is happening. Now, what happens? What happens is when we spend so much money advertising to customers, or we come up with a product that we think that people need, we find ourselves in this situation where we end up with 20% of all the customers that we think we have been able to reach are the ones who are responsible for 80% of our revenue. Now, there's an implication to that. What it means is that you are basically selling very few products. And so all the money that you have is just coming from very few people. It means the money is actually smaller compared to what you could have gotten if you are getting 80% of your customers, to be buying your product. Another thing is that okay, my next question is, what then happens to the remaining 80% of your customers? Have you seen someone will tell you that, oh, I've got this amount of people using my app, I built a great app, this number of people that have registered. It happens a lot in Nigeria to a lot of people who have their apps in the app store or even web-based platform. What happens is that they build this great platform. As soon as they launch it, a lot of people sign up, they spend a lot of money advertising, they get people to sign up on their platform. And maybe they have great what we call product activation process, which is one of the metrics you measure when you're activating a product, is that you count the number of sign-ups and all of those kind of things. But the truth is that that's not the only metrics there is for you to measure. I'm using the example of an app. There are several metrics that you actually start looking at. Includes things like how many repeat customers do you have? After the first day, when they sign up on your platform, you can't just call them your customers just because they have signed up to on your platform. Are they able to do the things that you want them to be doing on the platform and all of that? So you basically have redundant customers and just very few of them. And if you are not careful, those few customers are probably your family member, your church members, the people that just feel that this is my guy, let's support him. They just, you think that you have a business. If you find yourself in such a situation, I can guarantee you that you are in a situation I call a Mogbe situation. You basically be spending very large money advertising just to keep very few people on your platform, which that is not a great customer. So what are you doing wrong? Most of the time, what we find ourselves doing is that we talk to customers about the benefit of our product. Now, this may sound very weird to some of us. Yes, I should tell my customer about the benefit of my product. Yes, we take solutions to their problems. We take them and tell them, I've got a solution to solve your problem. This might also be counterintuitive to some of the things that some of us know and we believe. Our mindset is, let's build a product-centric thing, something that is, it's about the product. We think about the solution, that if people can just use this software, build a great software, we've got great team members, our team, these guys are good. We have the best software developer in the world. And at the end of the day, you are wondering what in this earth, is wrong with our company. I have a video here, but because of, if we have time later, I'd like to run through my slide. If at the end of my session I have some time, I'd like to play it. But there's something that you will always hear Jeff Bezos say. Each time you talk to Jeff Bezos, he will always tell you that they are obsessed about their customers. They are so obsessed. The thing that they do differently. And when I go back and each time I hear him say that, I just, keep playing his video over and over again. One of the things I see is that as far back as 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you see him, he has been saying that same thing when it wasn't like a thing that everybody was talking about, customer obsession. And so what happens is that, like Jeff Bezos, nobody will suspect you at all when you have figured out that for me to actually build something, a company, something that is solid, it has to be about the customer than it is about what I think that customer needs. What you end up is you end up creating products just like Jeff Bezos. This guy has got multiple hundreds of, thousands of lines of products. And most of these products are doing so well. I watched the video of him. I can't remember if it was this video where he was talking about, they were running a comparison between his tablet and when he launched his tablet. And they were trying to compare it to Steve Jobs' tablet. And he was trying to show that, and the speaker, the interviewer asked him that, Steve Jobs talked about the fact that they are building their product on the shoulders of people who had gone ahead and all of that. It was that moment I even discovered that their Kindle preceded iPad. So when Steve Jobs was talking, he was actually referring to Amazon. And so now he created his own tablet that was far cheaper than iPad. And if you know today, he has sold millions of these, products. In my house, at least we have 3 of Amazon's tablets and all that, And all he did differently from Steve Jobs is that he decided to, make his product customer-centric, differently from Steve Jobs. If you know Steve Jobs' philosophy, I know this thing that I'm saying also, during question and answer, we can actually debate it and talk about Steve Jobs' philosophy. Steve Jobs often say that customers don't know what they want. Yeah. And so it might be counterintuitive to this whole philosophy. But you must always remember that Steve Jobs is an exception. We're talking about the rule here, that if you want to create something that's going to be very successful, that's going to be life-changing, be like Jeff Bezos and not Steve Jobs. All right?
Hi, Jeff. When you meet Amazon CEO...
So, sorry. So let me go to my next slide. So what I'm saying here is that instead of looking at your product and services, just flip it. Flip it to the other side. Ask yourself, this thing that I'm creating, who is going to buy it? Who is my customer? Don't just get out there and create a product and say, you know what, this is the next best thing. Everybody should be getting it. You should first of all ask yourself that, if I create this thing, is anybody going to buy it? You must have such a mindset that keeps you on your toes. So this is it, okay? A dichotomy between this opposing idea. Product-centric business model says that, it aligns with what we call the industrial era thinking. You and I will agree with me, or you agree with me that the industrial era is fading out gradually. If you have been reading or listening to the news and, you are engaged in this whole ecosystem thing, you understand that everyone is pushing the whole idea of the 4th industrial revolution. The 4th industrial revolution, they're actually leaving the industrial out of the whole thing. The concept of the industrial era is mass production, production in, just produce it, get people are hungry, mass produce food, mass produce car, and all of those kind of things. And that is the product-centric mindset. In the 4th industrial revolution, we are moving away from there. We are now moving to a totally different mindset. So in the product-centric business model, it pushes product onto customers. And that is what we are talking about this evening. That why do you want to keep building stuff and pushing it to customers? Your tactic is to intrude and to engage. You just want to intrude, get into people's this, and that doesn't really work out. Now the difference between that and the customer-centric approach is that in the customer-centric business model, you are basically creating a product, all right, that aligns with the experience economy. You are looking at trends. You're not just coming and forcing your way. It's not the old way of thinking. It's very customized, because you understand that these customers that I'm selling to, they have access to internet. These people, there's more information than before. And so these guys are so informed, that I cannot just push anything to them. Immediately you bring your product to a customer today, the first thing it does is that it goes online and Googles this product. You sell him and you tell him that, oh, this product can do this, can do that. It types those things in and sees if it's actually relevant to him. You are telling him that if he takes this thing, it's going to give him sodium. It can actually type and see if sodium is something that is actually important to him. But these are the things that we have done in the past. We've sold, to people. In Yoruba, we call it ebu. And people just buy into it, and people make millions of dollars, selling such a thing. But today, your customer is a more informed customer. And that is what it means to build something that is customer-centric. Being empathetic towards the fact that this guy knows what he wants. So I can't just go and sell something to him. That is the mindset. Word of mouth is very compelling because the guy can understand. You can touch where the team is, touches him, briefly. And that is, for me, what makes the difference between a customer-centric mindset and a product-centric mindset. So this evening, I'm going to be telling us and taking us through this concept of how do we build a product, that is customer-centric? How do we create product that is, customer-centric? There are 3 steps in my education that shows and teaches that teaches us how we can go about creating a customer-centric or a consumer-centric product. These 3 steps are customer development, customer acquisition, and customer retention. But for the sake of this session, I'm going to be focusing on what customer development means. I'm sure some of us will be wondering, what does that mean, customer development? Can I start developing my own customer, like creating robots that will buy the products that I'm making and all of that? Now, I'm going to dive deep into this. In the last couple of months and years, I found myself in this area when I teach, class on product development, that how do you develop products? We always ask ourselves that question, that customer, market, and the product. The team, the customer, which is the market, the team, who is building the product, and the actual product you are building. Of these 3, we always talk about it, that which is the most important thing. And we have, of course, established from the first question that asked us that the customer is the most important thing. And of course, when you now go back, if you take the customer out, the team or the product, which is more important? It's like saying, which is more important, a problem or a solution? I think I'll pose that as another question. Please put your answer in the comments. Which is most important, your ability to frame a problem or creating a solution for a problem? Which is most important? All right, yes, sure. Thank you, Oluwaseyi. You say the customer is the most important thing. Yes, so I've gone, a note further now, that creating a solution to a problem or your ability to frame the problem. You say creating a solution for the problem. Okay, another person said the problem. Okay. Okay, I think the solution is irrelevant if the problem is non-existent. Okay, that is Ogunpoyowa Samuel. All right. Any additional inputs to that? Okay. All right. So identify the problem, then the solution. All right. We're going to discover that shortly. So in customer development, you see this interesting image. I'm going to come back to it. What we do in customer development is we have agreed, that the problem, framing the problem and all of that is what we do whenever we want to figure out or whenever we want to develop, we identify a problem. We need to take that problem and then be able to identify it. So I'm going to use an example from this image that I put in there. So when I was talking, I mentioned that if you go to a community where you find people not wearing shoes, maybe a community of 1 million people and they don't wear shoes. What's your natural propensity? What do you want to do naturally at first when you see that people are not wearing shoes? All right. Naturally, when you see that, you want to react to that. You first of all, you have a pity towards them. Maybe if you're a shark, you just think of, okay, let me just go and sell shoes to these people because it's a very big market opportunity for you. But what do you actually do for you in a situation like this? If you find yourself in a situation like this, what you should do is, first of all, be able to understand why these people don't wear shoes. The problem is that most of the time, we just think that these people don't wear shoes, and then we go to a co-market. Let's assume they are in one island outside of maybe in Adamawa or something, just discover 1 million people, and somehow they have power to buy shoes. You probably see them as an opportunity. As a businessman, you go buy shoes, and you want to start selling to them. But the truth of the matter is, the first thing you need to do when you confront an issue like this is to come up with what I call, at best, a hunch. What you have is not a solution per se, to say that, oh, these people need shoe. Because if I ask you that, what do they need? You say that they need shoe. What you have at that point is what I call a hunch. I have this professor who, Luis Perez Breva. I said, Joseph, you know what? This is a hunch. It's not you can't just come up and say, oh, you found a solution to this purposely, because you have not met these people. So the first thing is you need to take that problem statement and you frame it. So this is using the customer-centric approach that we talked about. So when you see this problem, you frame this problem, And you take your hunch and then you hypothesize on that, your hunch. What I mean is you come up with an hypothesis and say, okay, this is a problem. And the problem is these guys walk barefoot. And because they walk barefoot, they may probably hurt their feet. They may probably, when the sun is hot, they might not be able to go out. So it's reducing their productivity because they have to wait for late evening or early in the morning for them to go out. You have to be able to look at this problem, empathetically. And from that point, you are able to frame the problem statement. And because of you have understood or you have been able to put in a little bit of empathy into this particular problem you have identified, then you can easily come up with, at best, like I said, an hypothesis, maybe one or two hypotheses or as much as you want to. And so for this problem, I have two hypotheses. One of those would be, okay, maybe they need a shoe. Let me buy them a shoe. That would be one of my first hypotheses. Or let me come and sell them shoes. Or secondly, it will be that maybe they just need a very good floor, a floor that doesn't get hot and that cannot keep dirt. A floor that once dirt touches, the dirt just goes on that, so it cannot hurt their leg. And the floor is always cooling. And then you take those two as hypothesis. Now when you take this hypothesis, you can then easily, so here I showed that the process of customer development involves this process that we call customer discovery. You have seen the problem. You are now trying to identify your customer. And so what you do is that you come up with a hypothesis, not a solution. Not a solution. The mistake we make is that most of the time at this point, we think that we have a solution and then quickly we come up with something and we say, oh, I've got a solution for these people. Somebody say you start producing shoe. In fact, that is what happens to us most of the time. We start producing shoe for them. And by the time you get there and you say you want to sell the shoe to them, and suddenly you discover that the reason why they don't wear shoe in the first place is because they are all celeb, or the gods of that land does not allow them to wear shoe or something. If they wear shoe, they are going to die. Then what happens to you? So the first thing you do is take your hypothesis and based on that, which at best is an assumption, you take it to these people and then you go and discover them. And so if you take, let's say, a pair of shoes to the community, and let's say you look out for the king and you say, Oba, probably play a video for them and show that in where you are from, people wear shoe, and because of that, they don't get this kind of disease that you are having here, blah, blah, blah. And you probably give the king a shoe to test. At this point, you are still testing. You have not, developed anything. You don't have a solution yet. You have to probably do a lot of things, traditional things, for you to convince the guy. If it is in present day Nigeria, if you want to bring solution to some community, like you want to give them transformer, they will tell you that you need to pay first before you give them transformer that will help them, that kind of thing. So you probably need to do a lot of these things to cajole these people, because for you, it's 1 million market. If you are able to crack into this market, you are going to be rich. So if you probably make $1 a month by selling shoes to these people, to 1 million people every month, then your revenue is $1 million. But you see, at best, all of these things are assumption that you're going to make $1 million. So you need to walk through series of these processes of experimenting, of trial and error to try to figure it out. So in lean modern canvas, this process of trying to try out all of these things is called what we call you build, you measure, you test these people's interest, and then you learn. A loop that is called build, measure, and learn. So you go through this loop, while you're trying to convince the customer and to validate if this product is actually a fit for this customer. And it's possible that, yes, you were able to convince the king, and then you decide to say, okay, let me go bring the shoe. And you actually produce some shoes. Let's say you brought, it's a 1 million market and you brought 1,000 shoes or a few hundreds of shoes and you bring it there. And 1 week, 1 month, you probably got 2 or 3 or 5 people who had purchased your shoes. You now wonder what's going on. Now, you don't just sit down there. If it is an app that you are building, I talked about one of the ways, one of the things you look out for during product activation for like digital products is you look out for, if it's a software, you can say how many people are using our free trials or how many people are downloading the app in the app store. A lot of Nigerian apps never goes beyond 500, 700 or 1,000. And even if some people hit 1,000, you see them, they are celebrating it, But that's a very poor metric when you build an app in this age of information technology. So what happens is you now look at this metric, whatever the metrics is, how many people are buying this show? Are they excited about buying this show? Is it actually meeting the needs of these people? So you take that process and you learn from it. And because you are selling the shoe for $5, you started doing research and you check out and you discover that, the people who makes up this community are actually very poor people. And the best they can part with for something like a shoe is probably $1. $1. And then you go back and say, guys, you know what? These people cannot buy $5 shoe. We will only sell 5 in a whole month. And that is not sufficient. Can even cover our cost of staying in their community to sell the shoe. So you go back to your factory and, you probably go make adjustments, material adjustments, probably think of an innovation, and then you come up with a very still nice shoe, but with maybe less quality material at $1. I remember I was sharing this talk with someone, and the person said that, Joseph, this is what China actually did to us, The Europeans, they've always been in our market for such a long time. The Americans have been in our markets. They're always creating quality products and all of that. And when the Chinese came, they also want to sell quality products. But they realized that these people cannot afford it. And so they went back, took the Japanese product, the American product to their own market, and then they re-engineered it for our market. You have to know your customer. You have to, through this process, come to what we call customer validation. You must find a fit for this product for your customer. And that is what is popularly called product market fit. Product market fit means being in a good market with a product that can satisfy the market. You must have heard this word very well. People, when you are starting a business, what you need is not a business plan. When you create a business plan is rubbish. There's no value in business plan when you're just starting an idea. Because you go there, you come up with fictitious number, you show that, this is what we're going to make, we're going to be rich in 6 months, and we're going to change the world. But in the actual sense, what you need to do is to go through a process of learning. And as you are learning, you will see that I put the word pivot here. You test the market, you see the customer behavior, you validate their behavior through this loop. You build, you measure customers' behavior, you learn from it, then you improve. So now you went back to the market with the $5, you go back to the factory or wherever you were able to make that, take the $5 product back, re-engineer it to $1, all right? And then you bring it back to the market. So you build it again, you take it through, get it to the people, and then when you bring it, you probably, you have sold 5 before when you're selling at $5. Now you have brought it to $1 at the price you think the customers are actually going to be willing to buy it. And guess what? Something else happened. You brought it, and this time around, nobody is buying. You are getting a 0 interest, and you're like, oh my God, what have I done? Now, this time around, initially you came with 100 pieces, but because you are so sure they're going to pay $1, you went and you printed 1,000 pieces. By this time, you don't even have your own factory. You're probably going to meet some guy in China to help you make this thing, what we call prototype. And then you bring it back and the people are not buying. Then you start again. What is going on? You measure. You learn. What is going on? In this community, they are superstitious about red. You have just brought red shoes. And because of that, they're not going to buy. And I say, this is the reason. You improve on it. But this time around, you don't just measure and learn and go. You now go and you carry out additional research. All this while, what you are working on is you are working on what we call a primary market research, trying to figure out what exactly is the thing that my customer needs. And so you take this You listen to them. They tell you that, sorry, we only wear white in this community. Okay, we are interested. We love the shoe. It is great. We can assure you, in fact, we can drop our money. We can give you our dollar ahead. In fact, you get 10,000 people drop $1 and say, you know what, we are interested. We are going to pay for this shoe. And the next thing is you take that. Now, this time around, you have customers. They are excited about what you have created. They only have problem with your color. You go back to the market because you already have money for 10,000 people. You go, you produce, and then this time around, when you bring it at $1, you probably, maybe this is a trick you will use. There's a platform. I'm trying to remember the name of the platform where people do crowdfunding. They come on the platform. They tell you that, oh, this thing, once you take it, or once you make this thing, and you use it, once you, if you drink this thing every morning, in the next 3 weeks, you're going to lose weight. You're going to go from 120 to 65 kg and all of that. And they just work on a video, like a prototype, and show you that this is how it works. And then you get convinced. They tell you that, okay, this thing, by the time it's out, it's going to go for like maybe $500. But if you pay now, we can sell it to you for $200. And then they collect money from people, go and manufacture the product, come and sell to them. So in the case where people are now giving you good feedback, they're showing interest that, oh, this thing is going to change our life. All you need to do, produce it in white and all of that. You can then start getting them to say, you know what, if I produce it in white, you say you are willing to pay. It's $1. But guess what? If you give me 80 cents right now, I'm going to, if you give me 80 cents right now, you're going to get the product when it comes instead of paying $1. Then you start collecting money of people. Then you go back to the market. You make it in white colors, then you bring it, and then all of a sudden, just like magic, it looks like everybody is interested in what you are creating. This iterative, approach, of going back and forth and learning, eventually brings you to a product market fit. This, my brothers and sisters, is the magic of building a customer-centric product. Because what you have done is that you have taken the customer from the beginning of your development of your journey, and you have brought him to the point where, he's very satisfied. Now, what you do at each loop, when you build, you measure, and you learn, for each of those loops is what I represented here as pivot. So you keep pivoting, and, you're pivoting. And that process is a process where you are basically searching for your customers. And once you crack your customers and you've been able to build out your customers, and you have found a product market fit, you then, get to an execution stage. But don't ever, what we do is we jump out and you say, oh, I'm building a company. This is my customers. This is their persona. They're going to pay for it. Let's go out. Let's go sell products. Don't play that game, because what happens to you is that you start losing money. As someone who has worked with people who build ventures, what we see often is, and you see people, organizations like Y Combinator and all of that, they tell you that you should come into Accelerator. If you are wondering what they do in Accelerator, basically what they do in Accelerator is to help you to find product market fit. And Accelerator time, when you go through an Accelerator program, it's not a time where you just go and you listen to people tell you and you watch fancy slides. It's actually a very active time, a time where people take you and then they ask you a series of questions. They teach you how to discover your customer, how to build the right customer for yourself, develop your customer base through this loop, the lean process. There's the lean model canvas. There are a whole lot of interesting things. But what I've done is to take us through this process of understanding that it is by first creating, talking to your customer and asking them a series of questions and knowing what they actually want, and do it in a smaller form. And that is what we call an MVP, a minimum viable product. You create something in the least way, in the least cost way. There's a course I'm doing now, which is about innovation. And in the class, they say, you know what? Do you know you can innovate without even having to, most of the time, you want to innovate and, maybe it's an advanced tech, something. You want to create something around bacteria. You want to measure a disease, you want to solve a disease problem that has to do with bacteria and all of that, that most of the time, some of us think that until we get a very advanced lab, that maybe you only have one of its kind, maybe somewhere in California, that's the time you think that you can do some of your experiments. And, the teacher took us through a process where some set of guys at MIT used strawberry. This is a very long, complex process, which I'm not going to take us through, but they took strawberry and, they made it they place it just like a bacteria, because it has certain characteristics that is similar to bacteria. It has like 4 strands of DNA and blah, blah, blah. And with that, they were able to create the experiment in a safe, right in their kitchen, and then they develop a solution. And when they have proved that this thing can work, they demonstrated it, they now have someone that can now give them access to such a sophisticated lab. Because on a normal day, when it's just an idea in your head, nobody's going to give you such an access to such a, sophisticated, expensive lab. They don't even want you to go there and go and burn that place down. So you do something, you go through a very cheap way of testing and trying your idea. And when you have proven yourself, all right, through processes like this, when customers have shown that they are willing to pay, that without these products, you have created an app and people are using the app, and you tell them that, what, I'm going to shut down this app. If I shut down this app, people are begging you that please don't shut it down. If you shut it down, my life will never be the same again. In their hundreds, in their thousands. Then you say you have been able to create a customer-centric product. You agree with me, most of us, if you live in Lagos, you have all this amala, or in Abuja, you have this amala center. You see some of these people flies all over in the front of their shop where they're selling amala. You see people in tie and all of that. If you go to Marina, you see them, carry plates, and they'll be on the queue waiting to buy amala. That is a typical product market fit. Because what the woman has done is strategically placed herself to sell where she can get hundreds of people who she knows that at a certain time of the day, we want amala. She has found the right technique, the right location and everything. She has gone through what we call, series of pivots, and she has cracked it. And people will queue. So when you say such a thing, that irrespective of how bad the environment looks and everything, people still come and they still keep buying. Then can you say you have found a product market fit? And what happens is that is when it is ideal. So I would tell you that if you are going through this process, don't even start saying that people should come and give you money or give you investment, because I hear people cry a lot and talk about the fact that, nobody wants to invest in their product. The reason why nobody wants to invest in their product is that you have to take the first shot. You have to prove that this thing can work, and that is through this simple, cheap process. And when you have cracked it, you will recall that I was talking about, let me see, on this slide, I was trying to compare the industrial era with the experienced economy. Now, in this economy, we now have 3D printers. We have a lot of these fast prototyping tools, which makes ability to experiment really cheap. So in the process, if you think that is a difficult thing to do, because somebody might have been thinking that, this is going to be a very difficult process. This process of customer, discovery and customer validation and product market fit thing can be so expensive. If you think that is expensive, in this modern era, you can actually, one of my friends who is currently doing masters in Sweden showed me how he 3D printed a full dashboard. Is coming up with a new concept of, cars, of detachable, what's it called now? These self-driving cars. How you can easily fold the steering, because in self-driving car, you might not need steering, something that is futuristic. And after designing it, and some of us gave him, and we think that is okay, he tested it with some automakers. He went ahead and he 3D printed, and he sent me the picture. He actually printed every single part, and he coupled them with a 3D printer. And if you see it, it looks like something that came out of maybe Volvo or Toyota's, workshop. That process, if it tells me that it wants to manufacture that thing now, or it wants to take it a notch higher, I might now be happy and be willing to give him more money. And so go through this process, discover what the customer needs, because of course, discover what the customer needs, find happy customer, and then you can then move it not higher, that you have created a customer, and then you can build a company. And at this juncture, you can now proceed, to talking to investor and say, what, I found this thing, let's invest. there are times where you might actually need money. Maybe money for you to, probably you should be able to pay for your own server yourself and a few things, but you need money to even be able to access, probably get your own 3D printer because of the volume of print you are doing. 3D printer can be as cheap as $300 and all that, and you don't even have that money. In accelerator, most times you find accelerator who think your idea has a lot of potential and might be willing to commit to you, but most of the time, it's not all the ideas. 10 ideas going to an accelerator might just be only one or two that will create a viable business at the end of the day. But what they do in accelerator is that they take a chance on you. And by taking a chance on you, out of the 10 people, maybe one of them will make sense. And then they can then invest further in such an idea. This for me is a way to build a very solid product. So somebody said, seeing the valuable relevance of finding the product market fit, how exactly do you deal with your competitors outsmarting you in the market while you dwell on actualizing your product market fit? Probably outsmarting you by pushing your products to the market before you could. That's a very fantastic question. So the problem, okay, somebody else was talking about the problem is also very important. All right, so I wouldn't want to proceed into talking about customer acquisition because I want to focus on this customer discovery, because I believe that if we crack the whole entire concept of customer discovery, customer development, and we're able to develop our customer to the point of building a product market fit, then can we be said to have built a product, a customer-centric product that makes a lot of sense. So I'll try and answer this question, seeing that valuable relevance of finding product market fit. How exactly do you deal with your competitors outsmarting you in the market while you dwell on actualizing your market fit? Solid. The mistake we make most of the time is to start thinking that somebody is our competitor, because what they have released out there looks like what you are thinking or what is on your mind. What you do most of the time is, of course, you don't hide the idea. People get to know what you are working on. You actually go through a product market fit. But often when somebody tries to copy an idea like that, when they are not vested in it, they are not passionate about this idea, they will do that for a short time and then they'll go out. I remember when we launched BudgIT, there were a lot of people who were trying to do exactly the same thing that we were trying to do. Don't obsess about your competition. Don't obsess about them. They are not important. What is important is your customer, because what you are doing is to actually try to understand what your customer wants. What do they know that your customer wants? You are there creating and trying to build your own customer base. And when you eventually crack that whole process, then you have it. So trying to obsess over someone that you think is a potential competition is one of the reasons why people don't even succeed at the end of the day. A moment ago I was in class. I'm currently at MIT bootcamp, and Bill Owlett, that wrote The Disciplined Entrepreneur, was our teacher, and he was talking about, he asked us to come up with solutions, and he gave us a particular innovation and tell us to come up with a series of applications for it. And the team that came up with the largest number of possible applications came up with 24, and the team with the least came up with 7. And the guy cracked a joke, and the joke made a lot of sense. He said, what I can assure you that most of the people who were in the team that came up with just 7 applications, they are engineers. What happened is that your engineering mindset kicked in. You think that, when somebody comes up with an idea, you say, this cannot work, that cannot work. Don't throw away any possibility. When you have an innovation and you want to turn it into an idea or a business, what you need to do first is you should make a list of hypotheses of what is possible. Just feel free, make a list of everything that is possible. Don't say one thing will work or one thing will not work. And that is the mindset. And that is the mindset you have when you are thinking and obsessing about a competitor. A competitor is doing his own, you are doing your own. When you work with a customer, what you have is a solid product. At the beginning, I showed you, there was a picture on my slide of this coffee shop, Starbucks. One thing about that is unique about Starbucks is the experience. they are so obsessed. You go there, you see your name is written on the cup. They give you some extra experience. Before them, there are a lot of people that have been selling coffee. But when you know that you are onto something phenomenal and you are still going through the process of cracking it, and somebody else sets up coffee shop, possibly selling it at a cheaper price than you and all of that, and you know that by the time you're done, if you figure this thing out, your market is going to be big and all of that, feel free, take your time, all right, to work on it, and don't obsess about your competitors, because that is one of the ways we don't succeed. Yes, making a list of hypotheses, yes, very important. Is there any unique methodology a product manager needs to follow to truly win the heart of customers? So, a product manager. So, you notice I was very careful to talk about all the technicalities of, building a team, product manager, and all of that. Now, the reason is because at the beginning, when you are starting, you might not even have product manager and all of that. So you, the entrepreneur, are the product manager yourself. You are basically, the product manager, possibly the whatever it is. So to win a customer is the kind of process that I've described to you. What you do basically is designing, which is what we are talking about today pretty much, working with the customer and interviewing it and knowing what exactly the customer wants. If the product you are creating, you create the product, there's an idea that is called lead user, and all of that. I don't want to go into some technical details. When you know that this thing, you created this product because of my daughter. I know you created this product because of my daughter and all of that. And even though other people are buying it forever, in fact, I can get that product, buy 1 million when you have it in the market because it has solved my specific problem or the need of my daughter. I'll always forever be grateful for that product because you work with me and tailor it to my need. So even though there might be other people who might now buy it subsequently, that customer will go everywhere and become your ambassador, telling them that this is the best thing ever that ever happened to you. So a behavior of empathy, a behavior of working with a customer and listening to them, because customers will always give us feedback. One of the things we do poorly in Nigeria is that we ask people for feedback and we don't actually do anything about our feedback. Always take your customer feedback and then use that through your process of pivoting and improving on your product, and ultimately you'll create happy and satisfied customer. Okay, I can see you, Mr. Victor. Let me mute. I don't know if I've overshoot. I can't even see time here.
Not a problem, Joseph. I was just trying to give you some support as you take the questions. But yes, we can take a bit more questions. Excited about the value you brought in today, and everybody will agree with me that we have a subject matter expert that was brought to the house today to share with us how to be able to build consumer-centric products. Key highlights and key things he had shared is a product market fit. It's your product, the right product for the market. How do you know that? It's feedback from your consumers. It's feedback from the customers. It's for you to understand that in an experienced economy, it is not about your business plan. It is based on feedback and your flexibility and ability and willingness to want to pivot. Do not stay on a sinking ship and continue to burn until you get to your fume state, which is what happens to quite a number of startup and tech companies and organizations. Oh, you're so excited about what you build. You are so obsessed about what you build, even when it's not making money. And even when, the adoption is very low and there's no stick, people use it. And after a while, they don't come back. First-time users and first-time triers do not come back for a repurchase. And quite a number of people still stay there. The question is that flexibility. And I love, as I recap, the 3 steps he said. You need to understand how to develop your customer. You need to understand how to acquire your customer. You need to understand how to retain your customer. All 3 virtual processes are critical. And he had shared that, of course. And it's about building, measure, learn. You build again, you measure, and you learn. Thank you so much, Joseph. We'll still take a few more questions. Those are the big highlights. You agree with me, you can't get everything in this just few minutes. The presentation is going to be up, I'm sure, by close of business tomorrow. It's already on the website, and I'll share it again, and my colleagues will drop the link in the chat room. It's www.ecoicenter.com/webinar. You will find the recording of this Techbiz session. You will also find the presentation slide in there. Feel free to run through it. Joseph will be more than excited for us to go back. And you can always use the Telegram. Use the Telegram to be able to ask your questions and post more questions. Joseph will still allow you interact with a few more questions in the chat room. If there are still more questions, Joseph is still around. He will still be able to take a few more of our questions this evening. And if you have any question, please feel free. Joseph, you can take one or two from the chat room. I think the last one I saw is how do one create a unique product or service in the present dynamic society where wants and tastes keep changing in a fast pace? So I think this question is coming from it's coming from Tokwe. And he wants to know, it's very dynamic environment. And I think all of us as entrepreneurs, Joseph is one. It's something we struggle with. Things seem to be changing so fast. He says, how do you cope? How do we do that market fit? How do I pivot? Joseph, can you help with that?
So, one of the things, I mentioned I'm enrolled in MIT Bootcamp, and it's a 10-week course. And one of the reasons why I'm there is this guy seems to have cracked it. They've got like hundreds of thousands of people who went through MIT, and they are creating some of the best, innovative companies around the world. So I went into the program, and I want to know, and one of the things I'm learning now I'm on the third week, in class, is that there's a template. There's a template for a lot of things. This guy succeeds seamlessly. It just looks like it's like magic. And so about your question is that how do you create a unique product or services in the present dynamic society? As a company, so I'm looking at it from the perspective that you're already an existing company, and now you're trying to meet up with trends and demand that is coming. There's an idea that is called agile. You have to move from the methodology we use in Nigeria. I call it firewall. Use a firewall methodology. We have to move from a firewall mindset to an agile mindset. In the agile mindset, you have to take it in tiny bits and chew it and do it. Unlike the waterfall where you want to build everything, you take your time. You build. You're now waiting for launch. You are, it's such a long process that it wastes our time, a lot of time. And by the time we would release the product, I was speaking with a senior friend one time. He said, Joseph, your generation, you guys are so lucky. You guys seem to even be, those days we'll create a product. By the time we'll finish creating the product, we'll discover that something better is already in the market, and we'll keep struggling and struggling. And so what happens in the fast-paced side is that you have to have a very dynamic and an agile team. Your product management team, your development team they have to be agile in their approach, which means that you have to constantly take feedback. Your customers who are using your products, they are always giving you feedback. There's always sentiment analysis. You go on social media, where are your customers? I didn't want to dive deep into things like customer persona and all of that. With data science and AI today, you can literally follow your customers to every single place where they go to, and you can collect information, extract information from them. You have a smart team. These are data scientists who can tell you at every point in time the behavior and the characteristics of the people who use your product. There was an analogy like that in my class today, that they were looking for people who are product designers, and they used as even the kind of clothes that they wear, their behavior, they are always chewing gum. People know so much about you. If it is an app, if it's a digital product, the beautiful thing is that when you create an app, this loan company, let me tell you guys one secret about these guys that give loan. When you install their app on your phone, you know what they do? Once your app is on their phone, they extract a lot more information than what you are giving them. Every SMS that comes into your phone, they forward it. They look for bank alerts. They know all the banks. They know the subject of their messages. They look for credit. They look for debit. They analyze you to that extent. They know if when you collect your salary, you spend everything. They know if you have savings, if you buy stock. And that is how some of them are able to predict how much they can give to you as loan. So in this fast pace, one of the things you can use is through AI, data science and all of this. And these things are not like far-fetched. When anytime you come to my website, okay, I can actually extract information about you. I can get information about what type of computer you use to visit my website. What browser are you using? What's your IP address? They call those things fingerprints from your browser. People can extract hundreds of thousands of information about you that is visiting their websites. So those are the kind of information, and you must be dynamic. You don't wait. You must be 3 years ahead, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days ahead of your customers, 3 hours ahead of your customers. That way, before they come and say that they need this thing, you have already created the product. And then, you would have, always, it would just look as if it's magic. And that is one of the things that, somewhere that asked the question about Steve Jobs' experience. So what makes it look as if customers don't know what they want is that ahead of the customers, they have extracted the information, a lot of data about the customer. And then ahead of that, they have created something that is a fit to that characteristics and that behavior. That by the time you are 18 years, you will start looking for scholarships. By the time you are 18 years, you are looking for a side job to do and all of that. And so they create a product, target people who are 18 years. By the time you are 18 years and you enter that, you just discover that, you wouldn't know, but a business is cashing out with just that characteristic that they've known about you. So
fantastic, Joseph. And I think basically it helps. You just need to work a bit harder. We need to work a lot more smarter. Like Joseph said, the fire brigade approach just doesn't work. I was in a strategic meeting with some of my co-founders on a project earlier today. And, we're talking about the fact that it's about the time perspective. It's no longer the Indomie thing to just do a business. You want to cash out in 1 year, 2 years, and it's all about this short-time affairism thing. It just doesn't work. We need to have a more long-term horizon in everything we're building and hacking out and iterating. It's not, I just want to get it done today. It's not, we need to move from a trading economy mentality. He said experience economy. It's about the experience. So we are creating experiences for people, and then we can mine the information going forward. And it's about time perspective. But when we're desperate to create a company that will just make money in the next 2-3 years, and then you move, and then you say it's big boy and all that, all those cultural nuances and dominant logic are the things holding quite a number of us back, that does not allow us to do the right work to build the companies that are long-term. Many of these companies that are built, they spend hours and years building behind the scene. We saw what OPE did in our environment. They come in and they build deep roots, studying the consumer, studying the riders, studying what kind of bikes, looking for the right partnership. 2-3 years, they are building. They are not talking about cash and all those things. They are not trying to be in every launch and be in every become grandpreneurs where they are throwing pitch decks everywhere. They are studying the consumer and studying their customer, so that when they come up with a product, they have improved the chances of a product market fit. That's what you need to do. Now, somebody says, Joseph has said, yeah, and all that. Just keep yourself in the face of your customers. You don't have to make it very big, but it's basic. Many of the products you see that succeed today, including the person flying a car or eggs packaged in a particular way, is for you to spend enough time in the faces of your customers and ask them questions. Keep asking. And where you need to pivot, be flexible enough to pivot until you get the perfect fit. So yes, it is something we all deal with in the businesses that we're working in. How do we manage the changing to a large extent, changing taste and changing profile of consumers? It's work, but it's mainly about spending enough time with the consumer. And I think Joseph did a good work and a fantastic justice to that question. And I might take out the firewall economy that we're running in here, the hustling mentality. I talked about 3 weeks ago, the difference between having a business and having a hustle. Those are the things. You need to come out from that hustling mentality to build businesses that have long-term sustainability. And that's what is reiterating now. And it's a lot of work. People will wonder what you are doing. It's taking so much time, but nothing good comes in a flash. It's a lot of work that goes around it. Thank you so much, Joseph. And we cannot tell you how grateful we are for you to partner with us this evening and to share from your wealth of experience. Okay, I'm excited because Joseph, for me, is a typical success of what we think our entrepreneurs should be able to do. I mean, they've done fantastic work in BudgIT, and after 10 years, he's been able to rotate off BudgIT and start a lot more other things. And BudgIT now has a life of its own, and it's surviving. And that's it. It's about succession planning, and they've been able to come in and do a proper, partial exit out of BudgIT, and BudgIT has a life of its own, and is able to start creating new things. And that's what we expect from our entrepreneurs. It's a long-term mindset. It's to make sure there's a value that can be captured. It's to make sure you create the system and processes. It's to make sure that you are not building and investing in your hustle. You're investing in the business with right structures. Joseph has done exactly that, and that's why we felt it will be adding value to of course, our listeners and the people who are part of our platform. And thank you very much, Joseph, for doing justice to this topic again of building a consumer-centric product. We're grateful, and thank you very much, Joseph, and we wish you all the best. And we hope that we'll be able to have you again when we have other conversations. And just so that I can let this out of the bag, Joseph is part of the people that, I mean, we've had this conversation that we talked about the Techbiz speech. Is going to be one of your so-called facilitators and judges and investors and the so-called Shark Tank panelists that will be at the Techbiz speech when we finally go live on the Techbiz speech, where you're bringing your businesses, and you can hear he's got wide experience, both local and international, and we think he will bring significant value to the table. He's a friend of the house, and we're excited that he's here, and we look forward to having him again. Thank you very much, Joseph, and we appreciate this
for the opportunity. I appreciate it, sir.
You're welcome. And to everyone again, I mean, we're excited having you again on this edition of Techbiz. Thank you for being a part of it. If you have not joined our Telegram group, I mean, please do join. Do join. There are informations. There'll be things we'll share with you. We look forward to being able to, from there, get other things that can be beneficial to you, answer questions, provide the hand-holding, which is one of our focus in the Eco-Innovation Center, using the Techbiz platform. Please do join, ask us questions, target your questions if needed, refer to some of the things you've seen when you've gone to the webinar platform to ask questions and view some of the presentations, and you have need area of clarification, and do join us there, and we hope we'll continue to be able to add value to you. Do remember I said you can find this particular recording or presentation from Joseph Agunbiade and the slides before COB tomorrow on our website, www.ecoicenter.com/webinar. You will find all the presentation and the slides, so that you can spend some time going over the things you have missed. This is Techbiz again, coming to you from Eco-Innovation Center, situated in 50 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi. It's an acceleration center with very strong focus around civic tech, and therefore we partner with regional, sub-regional, local, and national governments around creating projects, platforms, institutions, organizations, policies that create social impact and make our world and our environment and our communities a better place to live in. I remain your host, standing in for Adedoje Ikeriche. My name remains Victor Binga Afolabi. Thank you for being with me in the last, I'm being a part of this in the last 1 hour, 15 minutes thereabout. And I look forward to having you again next week, when we'll be talking about, also very exciting, we'll be having a managing partner come to talk to us about project management, the untapped world of leveraging on giants. Project management, the untapped world of leveraging on giants. And we have a managing partner of a consulting firm, management consulting firm, who will be gracing the platform of Techbiz next week. So do keep a date with me as we meet next week, 5 p.m. next week, Thursday. Thank you very much, and do have a very lovely weekend starting tomorrow. Have a